Well, hello everybody. Welcome to English 1020. My name is Professor I. That's what everybody calls me. My actual name is Patty Ireland. So if you think of leprechauns and Lucky Charms cereal and shamrocks, you'll remember my name. And I have the red hair to go along with it, so it all flows together nicely. But most students over the years have come to call me Professor I at the Straw Plains campus, and that's what I'm comfortable with. So this is part one of my week one video musings. And what I'm going to do in part one is just review some of the important parts of the syllabus with you, good times. So please pull it up and follow along with me, and you can do that by going to content up at the top of the course page in Brightspace. And then in the left-hand sidebar, right under table of contents, you'll see course syllabus. So click on that so that you can follow along with me and it will make a bit more sense. And I know you're thinking, blah, 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 syllabus, boring, but it is important for your success in the class that we go through a lot of these ideas about the course so that you understand what the course is all about. So you see my email there, paireland@pstcc.edu. That's the best, quickest way to get in touch with me. I don't have any designated office hours since we're online, but if you want a private conference, let me know, and we can certainly arrange it through Microsoft Teams. We can always email back and forth, obviously, as well. You probably know that this class is asynchronous online, and that means that all of the class assignments and the information is conveyed to you through our Brightspace, also called D2L, course page. So this class does not meet virtually in real time at all, ever. But rather you take part in the weekly activities, the discussion boards, you submit assignments, etc. through Brightspace. So I want to welcome you. Obviously this class is going to build on the ideas you learned in 1010. And it's going to encourage you to think even more deeply about the art of interpreting great works of literature, fiction, poetry, and drama. And I know that poetry sort of strikes fear in some of your hearts, but it'll be okay. The course focuses on analytic writing, so you're analyzing, you're breaking things down and tearing them down to see how they are constructed, essentially, based on the study of literature, and also research writing. One of our goals is to improve your skills there. So it's the prereq for all the sophomore literature classes, and it provides you with a basic understanding and appreciation of literature. And so, you know, what I really love about this class most, though, is that it allows you to discover and celebrate and tap into the power of words for a lifetime. And words are living, breathing things, right? They move us individually and collectively. They shape the world. And they're probably going to be the last thing you do before you die. So think about that. They are powerful. So my hope for you is that you will profit from and really enjoy the experience we're about to share together as a community of writers and thinkers. I want this class to not just be one that will be helpful to you to make you a better writer, but to make you a better person, maybe a more well-rounded person, a more thoughtful person, a person with empathy more. I want this class to give you experiences that you'll remember throughout your life and think back to fondly later on. I'll tell you a little bit about me, just right quick like. I'm from East Ridge, Tennessee, a little place I lovingly like to refer to as the armpit of the redneck world. So we got a lot of churches there. We've got the Purdy Do Hair Salon. We've got the Party Mart, where you can get your copy of the National Enquirer and the local East Ridge Pioneer paper and some beer. And we got a sign out front that says, Party Mart, stop where pleasure starts. And we got a museum. I have no idea what's in it since we never did anything, but I hear that we do have an actual museum there now. So anyway, I got out of East Ridge. I'm glad to be out. I'll be talking more about it now. Back when I was at East Ridge Junior High School, back in the dark ages, before they called it middle school, long before your time, I came to know a young lady with a very interesting name. And usually when I'm in a physical classroom on the first day of class, I talk about names because I am generally cursed with having students who have unfortunate names in my classroom. So I tell this story about this young lady whom I knew back in junior high school, and her last name was O'Rear, O''Rear, and her parents in their infinite wisdom named her Fanny O'Rear. So you can imagine all the taunting that this poor young girl endured. And so Fanny and I kind of became friends in gym class because we were the last two people chosen to be on anyone's team. And in Fanny's case, it was because she had big, thick bifocal glasses and she literally just couldn't see to hit the ball or catch the ball or throw the ball or whatever. And she was weird, just really weird. I was semi-weird. She was weird, man. She wore all black. She sat in the classroom and drew pictures of coffins. She wanted to embalm people when she grew up. And the last I heard, she had not achieved her dream of being an embalmer, but she is doing makeup and hair for the deceased at a local East Ridge funeral home. So if you ever croak in East Ridge, Fanny's liable to be doing your hair and your makeup. You look real nice, no doubt. Okay, so that's my story about names. So if you have a name that you just hate and you'd rather that I call you George or Sue or whatever, you know, I could do that within reason. So the prereqs, I feel like Barbara Wawa. The prerequisite for this class is English 1010. So my friends, if you did not pass English 1010, you will not receive credit for this class. So make sure you actually passed it. Just a little FYI. And now, I have some good news for you right about now that's really going to excite you. So are you ready? You do not have to go buy that big, thick Norton textbook for this class like the bookstore said you did, because yours truly here, in all of my abundant plenteousness, my magnificence, I decided that it was just dumb to make you spend all that money, and so I have put all the readings for this class online on our Brightspace course page. You are welcome. So I have just saved you $1 gazillion. You're welcome. The only book you need is your Little Seagull Handbook, which you hopefully still have from English 1010. So this may cause some of you to have to return the Norton book if you already bought it, but it's going to save you a lot of money. So I just can't see making you spend all of that money when I can put readings online. I will let you read the course goals and the expected student learning outcomes on your own there, but I will comment just quickly on the course description and the grading scale. So 1020 is an exploration of 3 literary genres. That's a fancy word for types or kinds of literature. And they are fiction, poetry, and drama, right? And so our main goals are twofold. Number 1, to learn to interpret and write analytically about the 3 genres. So when you analyze something, you break it down, right? And number 2, to further study and practice research writing skills. And so it's a writing intensive course. You'll be writing your papers, you'll be writing a lot on the discussion boards every week, which we'll talk about in a moment, and you'll be engaging with a variety of text, including each other's writing. So the class is divided up into 4 units, and each of those units correspond with a paper you write at the end of that section. So the first unit is short fiction, imagining worlds through words. I think I've done real good on coming up with that title, as we'd say in East Ridge. So it centers on developing an understanding of the interpretation of short fiction, so fiction, not accurate, not historical, real life, right, but imagined creative writing, and the power that it has over time to move us and to change us and to shape us collectively and individually. So we'll look at the elements, the terminology of fiction. We'll conclude with a main essay assignment that focuses on the art of analyzing a fictional work. And then the second section is poetry, giving voice to the soul. Now, I know some of you are like, no, just no. Poetry, no. It scares the bejesus out of you, but don't worry. You'll be fine if you do the readings, and if you listen to my video musings, and if you follow the weekly checklist, you will be fine. The paper will write, paper 2, at the end of this unit, will encourage you to close read and explicate, fancy word that means explain, a poem in an effort to understand its meaning and delve into its analysis. The third section is drama, bringing words to life, and we're going to watch a film together, and then we're going to read an excerpt from the corresponding novel, and we'll all be writing about this film together in paper 3. The very last little short section ties everything together and ends with a final essay exam. It says final in-class essay, but obviously we're not in class anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. You see how the grading plays out there. And so the bulk of the grades in this course would be made up of those major papers. That's why it's important to turn them in on time, right? Don't get point deductions for not turning them in on time, or for not turning them in and getting a big fat 0, F+, right? You want to get your points, and the way you get your points is by turning in everything on time. So you see that there's also an exam on literary terms toward the end of the semester. It makes up 10%. There are 4 quizzes that total 20%, and then there are 15 discussion board postings that also count for some grades. Now, in a normal physical classroom, we'd be meeting 3 hours a week, and in addition, you would be doing your homework and your reading and writing your papers and all of that outside of class. So this class will be no different in terms of the time you have to put in to succeed every week. Expect to put in at least 4 to 6 hours every week for this class, and that includes the time you're going to spend online and the work you would do on your own, right? Also note that your professors can see how much time you have been on their Brightspace courses. They can see exactly where you've been in the course and how much time you spent in each section. So do keep that in mind. Note that I will do my best to turn your major papers around to get them graded and back to you and commented on as quickly as I can. But I'm teaching 4 classes, and 3 of them are 1020s. And all the papers come in on the same day. So it may take me as long as a couple of weeks to turn them around in some cases. But I will do my very, very best to comment on them thoughtfully and get them back to you. You see the disability services statement there. If you need accommodations because of some sort of a disability, please send me an email. I do have to have an accommodation plan that is on file from our disability services office before I can actually legally work with you. So that is important. If you need to communicate with me, send me that email to paireland@pstcc.edu. If you send it that way, don't send it from your personal email. Send it from your Pellissippi email. The reason being that if you send it from a personal email account, it will automatically almost always go into our spam folders. And we cannot access our spam folders just at will because of security. So sometimes we never see those emails. You can also email me through our Brightspace course page as well. And note that I'll respond as quickly as I can. However, if your email comes in later on in the afternoon, it will be the next morning probably before I see it. If it comes in on a weekend, I may not respond until Monday morning. So bear all that in mind. I try to be prompt, but like everybody else, you know, I need to have dinner with my family. I need to unwind in the evenings. I need to have my weekends occasionally. So do bear that in mind. All the papers should be typed and double spaced in standard margins, Times New Roman 12-point font. your name, my name, the course name, and the date in the upper left-hand corner of page 1, your last name and the date in the right-hand upper corner of each page as per MLA standards. And if you're confused over MLA, I have a whole MLA help section on our Brightspace course site. Go to content and look for MLA help, and you'll find it there. Also, the Little Seagull Handbook has a whole chapter on MLA. As I mentioned before, there are 4 quizzes in this class. They are on the various readings and concepts taught along the way. So you want to make sure you've done the readings for each week, both the course documents and the fiction, poetry, or drama readings. Together, these quizzes make up 20% of your final grade, 5% each. And generally, quizzes are not made up unless you have a valid, legitimate reason and unless you contact me promptly to let me know what's going on. It is up to you to contact me to make up a quiz, and it must be done promptly. All of the documents for this course are online on our Brightspace course page. Click on Content up at the top, and then look in the left-hand sidebar. You'll see course documents, you'll see readings, you'll see major paper assignments. It's a good idea to just sort of go in and peruse the course, and navigate it, get the lay of the land. We will have, as I mentioned before, 15 discussion board postings in this class, or discussion boards in this class. And each board will contain from 1 to 3 different topics within it every week. So it's not just one board with one topic. The week 1 board, for example, has 2 topics in it. The week 6 board may have 3 topics. There may be some boards where it's just 1 topic, but it will be from 1 to 3 different topics each week. And so there's a grading rubric available for you there on the boards that shows you how the discussion board grades are arrived at. But to receive the points for each week's board, you need to answer the discussion board questions according to the instructions posted within each topic of each week's board, and then offer 1 substantive, thoughtful response to 1 classmate, right, each week in the designated board. It will tell you, here's the topic that you need to offer a response to a classmate on. This topic you don't need to offer a response to a classmate, but here's the one that you do, right? And so after this week, your initial postings to each topic in each weekly board will always be due on a Wednesday night by 11:59 p.m. Always. And your 1 response to that 1 classmate in the designated topic will always come due on that following Sunday night by 11:59 p.m. That's the way it will always work. However, I'm making an exception this first week because we're starting on a Tuesday. We're starting midweek, and people will add the class late usually. And so this first week, all of your postings and your response to the 1 classmate will all come due on this coming Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. But after this first week, initial postings always due on a Wednesday night by 11:59 p.m. The response to the classmate always due on the following Sunday night. I will allow you to revise 1 major paper toward the end of the course to make a higher grade, and you have to choose between papers 1 and 2. And you see the deadline date there. You must turn it in before that deadline date. I'll be reminding you in announcements and in the weekly checklist as well. But I will make no exceptions to that date for the revision because I'm, by that point at the end of the semester, I'm inundated with final papers and final exams, and I have to be firm about those deadlines. So you'll see the guidelines here about how to revise your paper, where to submit it. Again, when we get closer, I'll be reminding you of all of that, but the information is here for you under revisions. For paper 1, we'll have a peer review day. For paper 2, we'll have a pre-writing day. And for paper 3, we'll have a self-review day. And they're important. So if you do not submit the necessary materials for each of those days, I dock 10 points from that paper grade. So very important that you have to submit what I ask you to submit. With paper 1, you will do a rough draft and I will comment extensively on it, okay? I will comment very extensively on it. And then it will be your job to go back in and read my comments and enact the changes that I suggest into the final draft of paper 1. So essentially, I'm going to grade paper 1 without giving you a grade for it when I make my initial comments on your rough draft. You would be amazed at how many students do not take me up on this offer, and I will go to all this trouble to make the comments, and they will not ever even read them, or if they read them, they won't enact the changes. They just submit the same thing with a final draft, and they don't earn a very good grade on paper 1. Whereas if they had just read the comments and enacted the changes, they would have scored much, much, much higher. So this is something that I do for you on paper 1. I can't do it on papers 2 and 3 because there just aren't enough hours in the day. But I do it for you on paper 1 to show you how I grade and what I expect and to help you. So take advantage of that, right? Note that if you drop or withdraw from a class, it can adversely affect your financial aid and or your lottery eligibility. So keep that in mind. I'll let you read the non-discrimination, emotional well-being support, and academic dishonesty, and grade appeal, and syllabus statement, and COVID-19 procedure policies on your own. Good luck. But I will talk a little bit about the attendance policy. So in an online asynchronous class, attendance is taken each week based upon your completion of that week's assignments and activities. So the weekly checklist section is a godsend from heaven and moi that I am giving you, right? So go to content up at the top in the left-hand sidebar. Go to, let's see, wait. Let me make sure I'm telling you right here. Hang on. Go to content. Go to the left-hand sidebar, and at the very bottom of that sidebar, go to weekly checklist. And there you will see for each week all of the assignments and the activities that you need to complete, the deadlines, where to go in the course, how to find it, what to do. Follow it to a T and you cannot go wrong. But basically that's how attendance is taken. So if you've completed part of the activities, you'll be counted partly absent, right? If you've completed all of them, then you've been present for that whole week. I have a lot of helpful resources for you that I've included on our Brightspace page. Here, there's information about online tutoring help, which will be very helpful to you with the major papers. Also, online research information from the library, very helpful with the papers. And then I have a little section here, how to navigate the information on our Brightspace course page. So you want to follow the exact directions on those weekly checklists, right? You'll find all the course documents and readings under content. You'll find the major papers, rough drafts, idea worksheets under assignments. You'll take quizzes through the quizzes tab up at the top of the page. You'll email classmates through the class list tab if you so desire. And you'll post to discussion boards through the discussions tab up at the top of the page. And I might add with the quizzes, I don't tell you in advance what they're about. No, I'm not going to do that. But they're going to be about the readings, both from course documents and then just the weekly creative literature readings. There are lots of other resources that I've included to help you succeed under the general information about resources for students. In the, if you go to content and look on the sidebar, you'll find help with Brightspace, campus resources to help you with everything in the world. You'll find technology tools, free literature, grammar exercises to help you, grammar support. So if you look back at the comments that I make on your paper and you see, oh my gosh, I'm writing a lot of sentence fragments, or I keep writing comma splices, go to grammar exercises to help you and do the exercises there for fragments or comma splices, and you'll get better and better and better, and you won't make those mistakes anymore. Under library information, you'll find all sorts of MLA info, library tutorial there, English 1010 library guide. And under MLA help, you'll find a guide, a paper template that we're actually going to use in paper 1 to help you write paper 1, and other important materials. The 1020 Cafe and the Teacher's Room are both discussion board forums. If you go to discussions up at the top of the page and click and scroll all the way down, you'll come to the 1020 Cafe and the Teacher's Room. They're ungraded. I do monitor them. I have some netiquette rules for you to follow there. But basically, the 1020 Cafe is a place where you can talk to each other about the class if you want to. And the Teacher's Room is a place where you can ask me questions. You can also, of course, email me. You can check the FAQs, FAQS, frequently asked questions, section under content as well. So the next section on the syllabus are 10 important rules for success in the class. Wake up, this is important, right? So rule 1, there are no dumb questions. Smart people ask questions, because smart people are curious. So if you have a question, ask me. I'm a professor who loves to interact with you. I am a people person. I do not like this online stuff. It's not my thing. I'd rather be in person with you, right? But that's good news for you because it means that I truly very much want to get to know you, and as an individual, and I'm here to answer your questions. I really want to help you whenever and however I can. If you have specific needs or concerns, ask me. Look at the syllabus, look at the facts section, look at the weekly checklist, but if your question isn't answered there, go to the Teacher's Room and ask me. Send me an email. Ask me. I'm here to help you. Read the announcements. So I'll be sending out an announcement at least once a week. I'll email it to you as well. Read it because it's the only way I have to communicate with you. And there are going to be some important bits of information in those announcements. So read them. Check the weekly checklist every single blessed week, and you cannot go wrong. Show up. Virtually, that is. Okay, so again, I'm going to count you present based on what you complete for each week. And it will affect your grade to not take part in all the discussion boards and things like that. It will affect your grade. It will affect your grade to not read. It will affect your grade to not watch my video musings in a negative way, because I'm going to give you information that you're going to need to do well on the papers, on the quizzes, on the exam. Have RESPECT, and if you've never seen Aretha Franklin, heard her sing about it, you need to do a search and find her and listen, because she's awesome. So this is common sense. Have respect for yourself, your colleagues, and me, and everything will just roll along fabulously. But remember, if a comment is considered inappropriate in the classroom, it's inappropriate here. So think about that. Rule 5, don't plagiarize, don't do it. All the papers are run through the Turnitin system. If you cheat, there's a really good chance you'll get caught. Don't do that. It's not worth it. Rule 6, submit things on time, okay? Remember, those major papers, I deduct 10 points from that paper grade for every calendar day your paper is late, including the day that it's due and weekends. I don't accept them after 5 days, right? Don't do that to yourself. Be sure to watch the videos. Work hard. Anything in this world worth having requires good, honest, old-fashioned work. Got to do it. If I mess up, tell me. I'm human. I will mess up. Trust me. My husband reminds me of that frequently. So if I make a technological error somehow, or if I make a typo that throws everything into chaos, respectfully send me an email and let me know. And I promise you I will correct it. I will go the extra mile to do that right away. And if you want to get to know your classmates better, go to that 1020 Cafe. So most importantly, know that I'm here for you. We're in the midst of a challenging, difficult, unprecedented time, a pandemic, right? A global pandemic. And so I'm going to maintain that sense of academic rigor. I'm going to want you to work. But remember, you're doing this work for you, not for me. Anytime you turn in an assignment, you do a reading, you post to the board, you're doing this for your future, your career, your life, your family. It's for you, right? So note that while I'm going to maintain that rigor, I will also go the extra mile to work with you, to be kind and generous and compassionate to you in all of my interactions and to help you as much as I can at each step of the way along the way. So do your part to ensure your own success too. That's all I ask. Don't be nervous. You got this. And don't be like the person who created that little kitty cat photo. Don't forget the apostrophe and don't, for goodness sake. By the way, I have a famous cat on Facebook. Her name is Princess Fufu. So go to Facebook, look up Princess Fufu, F-O-O, 2 words, and you'll find her. She's special. Yeah. I'll be talking more about her as well. And so now in this part 1, I want to also take just a moment to review with you the paper 1 assignment sheet. Now, all we're doing is just reading the paper 1 assignment sheet. We're not actually writing paper 1 just yet, but I want you to be able to read about it so that you understand what is going to be asked of you. So follow along with me. Go to content up at the top, look in the left-hand sidebar, click on major paper assignments and related materials. And there you see, here are the assignment sheets for 1, 2, and 3, the 3 major papers. So if you're thinking, oh, what am I supposed to do in paper 1 again? The assignment sheet tells you. The TBR, and that acronym stands for Tennessee Board of Regents, our governing body. Their student learning outcomes for each of those 3 papers are listed here, along with the English department's grading standards, in case you are interested in knowing how we grade papers. So look with me at this paper 1 short fiction analysis. And so for this paper, you'll choose one of these 2 possible options to write a 3 to 4 page typed essay about. So number 1, write a character analysis of any one of the main characters that we're studying in this very first unit. And as you're writing, remember, authors use several different techniques to develop their characters. So this is what you want to include in your paper, what the character says or does. So you're going to tell us the character's own words and actions. That reveals who he or she is. What other characters say about him or her, so their reactions. The author's description of the character's physical appearance. So the physical appearance of the character can tell us a lot about who he or she is. And then narrative comments. So comments within that text that the writer makes, the narrator makes about the character. So remember, character is always, always connected to theme. And theme is the big overarching idea that we always want to pound on in every one of our papers, no matter what. So think about how this character that you're analyzing, that you're breaking down, helps to reveal the story's main theme, that main message that the writer wants to get across, that universal feeling or idea to which almost everyone can relate. And also consider the following. How is this character, hang on a second. Yeah, this particular paper that I'm looking at says also consider the following. How is this character enslaved? But that doesn't apply to you guys. That applies to a different section, so disregard that comment. The second option is to compare and contrast any 2 main characters that we're looking at in Unit 1. So Unit 1 is the unit on fiction, and it begins on day 1 of the class, and it ends on the day that the final draft of paper 1 comes due. So any 2 characters that we're looking at. So you could think about, what conflicts do they face? How are they similar or different? How do other people view both of these characters? Do they change? How so over the course of the story? And then, also, how do they reveal theme? You want to think about that, whether you're writing about option 1 or option 2. And maybe the 2 characters reveal a common theme. And that would be a good thing to think about. So next you see the important date. So the first date is the day that you're going to upload your completed idea worksheet. And that's a sheet where I give you 5 or 6 questions that sort of will allow you to begin the process of thinking of how you want to write this paper, how you're going to organize it, what your main points might be, how you're going to structure your thesis. And so you go to the assignments tab and look for the idea worksheet for paper 1 and follow the instructions there. And that'll be listed on the weekly checklist for that week. The second step in the writing of this paper is to use that MLA paper template for paper 1, and you find it by clicking on content and then on course documents in the left-hand sidebar, and then looking for MLA template for paper 1. So you actually can type a rough draft of your paper into this template, and it will automatically help you to do the MLA formatting correctly, and also it will tell you as you're going along exactly what you need to be doing in the writing of paper 1. So you write your rough draft into that template, and it's just very, very helpful. And then the third step in the process is that after you've done that and written the rough draft, you upload that rough draft then into the assignments tab by the date that's listed here. And remember, I deduct 10 points from your paper grade if you don't upload that rough draft by that deadline. The final date listed here is the date that the final draft of paper 1 comes due. And again, you would upload it by going to assignments up at the top of our page and looking for paper 1 final draft. So the specifics, this paper should be 3 to 4 pages long, so a minimum of at least 3 full pages, typed, double-spaced, Times New Roman 12-point font, very important. Standard margins. And this time around, you only need to document your main source. So the text or text, if you're using option 2, that you're writing about. So that means you need to have quotes within your paper from those text, right? Or that text if you're doing option 1. And you need to cite them at the end. So at the end of the quote, in parentheses, the author's last name, the page number, no comma in between, in parentheses, period, after the last parenthesis, right? And that means you need a separate works cited page at the end of your paper. So your objective is to write a careful character analysis, depending on whether you're choosing option 1 or 2 of a character or 2 characters from unit 1. Your job is to think deeply about how the character is brought to life, whether and how they change over the course of the story, how they reveal the theme, etc. So now I have some questions here for you to consider as you're writing. Now don't take this literally. I had a student once who took me literally here and actually wrote the paper answering these questions. So don't do that. These are questions for you to consider as you're writing to help keep you on track. So, have I selected characters and text from Unit 1, right? Have I written a compelling thesis statement? So remember what a thesis is? It's that sentence or maybe 2 sentences found at the very end of your very first paragraph, your introductory paragraph, that encapsulates the main idea of what your paper does into that sentence or 2. So your thesis needs to say something more meaningful than the main characters in A Good Man is Hard to Find and Shiloh are both similar and different. Duh. We could say that about any 2 people on the face of the earth, right? You need to create a thesis that is more interesting, more explicit than that. Tell us how this is so. Point out maybe a key similarity or a key difference or maybe a common theme that they both reveal. Have I checked my topic sentences? Do you know what that is? The topic sentence is the first sentence of each paragraph of your paper, right? Think of a topic sentence as a connector in a chain, like a link in a chain. So the topic sentence sometimes will look back at what was said in the previous paragraph and look ahead to what's about to be said. But here's what it will always do and what it should always do. It will tell your reader, here's what this paragraph right here is kind of going to be about, right? So look at those topic sentences in your rough draft as you're writing to make sure you're making points of character analysis. You're actually analyzing the character rather than just summarizing what's happening in the story. So for example, if you look at your topic sentence and it says, next the car breaks down, and then you look at the next paragraph's topic sentence, then the misfit and his gang come along. That's sort of a clue that you may just be summarizing the plot. And that's not what you're supposed to do. It's not a plot summary. It's a character analysis. You're looking at a character and you're breaking that character down and telling us, here's what makes this character tick. Here's what she says and does. Here's how she looks. Here's what other people say about her. Here's what the narrator said about her. Here's how she reveals the theme. Does my introductory paragraph have a hook? Do you remember this from 1010? Your first sentence should reel the reader in. It should be a hook that makes your reader want to keep on reading. You don't want to bore your reader. I'm your reader. Please don't bore me. Okay? So your hook might be an interesting statement. It might be a question. It might be a quote. If it's a quote, cite it and don't drop it. Incorporate it somehow, right? If it's a question, don't use second person, you and your. No, 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 no. In my classes, no second person, no first person in formal college writing. So no you and your, no I and me, unless these words are part of a quote. You do not use them. You use one or ones instead. You want to elevate your writing, lift your writing up. You're not a high school writer anymore. Now you're a college writer. You've got to use wording that is appropriate for college level writing. So if you pose a question, don't use you. And that's kind of tricky. It's kind of hard. It can be done, but you want to keep that in mind. Have I included the following information in that first introductory paragraph? The title of the work, the full name of the author, the reason the text has meaning, and my thesis. If we get to the end of paragraph 1 and we don't know those things, Houston, we have a problem. Have I remembered that short story titles are placed in quotation marks, while book titles are placed in italics? Okay? Drill this into your brain. Engrave it in gold letters on your brain, my friend, okay? Otherwise, you will keep getting point deductions in every English and Lit class you ever take, ever, all right? It's so easy. Shorter, smaller works, those titles, like a poem, like a short story, they're always placed in quotation marks. Titles of bigger, larger works, like a book, they're always placed in italics. That's all you have to remember, and you're good to go. Have I remembered to refer to the author by last name only after I have introduced him or her fully in my introductory paragraph? So if I'm writing about Flannery O'Connor, in paragraph 1, my intro, I'm going to call her Flannery O'Connor. But after that, I'm not going to call her Flannery, my good buddy Flannery, Mrs. O'Connor. No, I'm just going to call her O'Connor, because that's standard protocol for college level writing. That's what a college level writer does. It makes me sound professional. Here's a new idea. Have I used literary present tense? A new idea, my friends. Get ready. Literature can be read again and again. Therefore, it exists always, in perpetuity. All right? So, I could be reading something that someone 500 years ago wrote. Someone 500 years from now could be reading something we write. And so, therefore, I use literary present tense to refer to the actions and the characters. So, the spatial setting of girl is unknown, and the mother seems stern and uncaring, not was unknown and seemed past tense. So bear that in mind. Have I used formal academic language? I'm going to avoid words like stuff and fluff words like really and very and just and vague words like thing and people. I'm not going to say. You will really, really like all of this stuff in this short story because it is very good. It is a good thing, and people will love it, right? No, I'm going to lift my language up. One will derive meaning from this short story, all right? I'm going to lift up my writing. I'm going to elevate it. Do I have correct in-text citations? I've got to have quotes. If I paraphrase, put the quote in my own words, I still have to cite it. I have to cite all my quotes, right? And then I need a separate works cited page at the end of my paper on a separate page in MLA formatting. Have I been careful not to plagiarize? I must document and cite all my sources. I must not copy and paste a paper from online, because if I do, Professor I will catch me and I will make a big F+. And I may be dropped from this class and I will be reported to the Dean of English, and it would not be fun for me. So I'm not going to do that, right? Have I included quotes? I have to remember to incorporate my quotes, right? By smoothly introducing them with a phrase. So here's the golden rule. If a quote appears all by itself in your paper as a sentence, you have dropped it. That's a no-no. You will get points deducted. Big time. Do not do it. So you have to have some wording of your own before that quote to incorporate it into your writing. And I give you an example there. Do I have a fully developed intro, body, and conclusion? Have I answered the question, so what and who cares? Why does this story matter? How does this make someone a better person? How does this help the world? How does this change the world, right? And then I give you examples of a possible thesis and game plan for options 1 and 2. So here's option 1. The unnamed grandmother in A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor considers herself morally superior to others by virtue of her ladylike qualities. In addition, she freely and frequently, there's a little alliteration, I like that, passes judgment on others. After examining the grandmother's behavior, here's the actual thesis. After examining the grandmother's behavior, the other characters' responses to her, and the author's descriptions and narrative comments, right? Here's what I told you need to look for. One may argue that, not you may argue, one may argue that she is representative of the Old South, a place that in O'Connor's view symbolizes a dangerously outmoded way of looking at the world and therefore must be confronted and annihilated to allow progress. So this is one of the actual pieces we're reading in Unit 1, O'Connor's iconic short story, A Good Man is Hard to Find. And dear Granny seems like she's going to just be such a sweetheart, and then we find out that maybe she's not such a sweetheart after all. And so O'Connor is exploring the idea of goodness. You know, who really is good? Just because someone looks a certain way on the outside, like a sweet old granny, does that really mean that that person is good on the inside? So another theme here would be inner substance versus outward physical appearance, right? So if you were going to talk about this idea that the grandmother represents the Old South, so ideas of racism, slavery, etc., prejudice, then you need to offer proof in your paper of her sense of moral superiority. She feels she's just a little bit better than others. You need to offer proof of her hypocritical behavior, her ladylike air, evidence of her racial prejudice, evidence of the way that other characters respond back to her, as well as quotes and paraphrases focused on the author's description of what she looks like and the narrative comments about her in the piece. You might also compare and contrast her general views with those of the Old South to offer proof that her characterization is representative in this way. This is only one way you could approach this paper. Option 2, where you're comparing and contrasting two characters. When comparing the grandmother in Flannery O'Connor's A Good Man is Hard to Find with Norma Jean Moffat, Bobby Ann Mason's lead protagonist in Shiloh, one may see stark differences between the characters in terms of their behaviors and perspectives on life and relationships. Considering these dramatic differences, one may persuasively argue that both authors use their primary female characters to portray the needed emergence of a new kind of feminine identity in the South. So again, we're also reading Bobby Ann Mason's Shiloh. And with Granny in A Good Man is Hard to Find, the grandmother is definitely not what we expect. Norma Jean is not what we expect either, but in a different way. So to create an effective paper from that kind of thesis, you need to demonstrate in your paper through quotes from both short stories the sharp differences between the characters of the grandmother and Norma Jean. So the grandmother behaves kind of in this stereotypical, traditional way in a sense, in that we kind of expect that this older white woman might be a racist after so much of reading about her. Norma Jean constantly does things unexpected for a traditional Southern woman of the time. She goes back to school. She's doing yoga. She feels better when she's on her own, away from her husband. So for the time in which that piece was written, 1980s, she's defying the norm. So the two characters are very different, but they're both sort of revealing a common theme. Women of the South are either changing, like Norma Jean, or they're in need of change, like the grandmother, during this time period of the 1950s, 60s through the 1980s. So again, you need to provide evidence of how the other characters respond, the descriptions, the narrative comments offered by both authors, what the characters say, what they do, and you would back up all of that interpretation with textual evidence that both authors are pointing toward this idea that, you know what, women in the South are changing, or they need to change, right? So that is good old paper one. And I appreciate you bearing with me. Be sure and watch part 2 of my week 1 video musings when I'll talk about the other readings that you need to do for this week. Over and out. Thank you.